Hello and welcome back to my MMA channel. It is a huge week for One Championship with One Fight Night 10 this weekend, Friday or Saturday, depending on where in the world you are. And there are some incredible matchups on this card. I've already got a full card preview up on this channel that you can check out. But today I wanted to talk about one matchup in particular that I think is the best fight on the card. A lot of these fights are, I think, not showcases because they are good matchups, but there's a few considerable favourites, I would say. Some of the fighters that are big names on the one roster that are fighting in the US for the first time in a long time, or making their debuts. I'm talking about Rodtang, Stamp, Ongla as well. Musamechi, I guess, as well. I expect them to get the job done. I'm going to do a predictions video as well, so you can check that out when that is up. That'll be maybe Thursday or Friday. But there's one matchup that I think is great. A lot of people will assume that I'm talking about the main event, and the main event is absolutely fantastic. I think that you could argue either way of what is the best fight, and of course that fight has all the stakes on it because it is the trilogy between Demetrius Johnson and Adriano Moraes. It is for the Flyweight World Championship. It might be Demetrius Johnson's last ever fight. The narratives going into that fight are absolutely incredible, and I think that that is the best matchup on the card. However, the best fight takes place in the welterweight division, in my opinion, between Roberto Soldic and Sebastian Kadastam. Let me tell you why. So let's talk a bit about Roberto Soldic. Just straight out the gate, one of my favourite fighters to watch. Knockout artist, incredible run in KSW, where he became a two-division world champion. If you just scroll down his record, it's absolutely ridiculous. His only loss since 2016 was to Dricus du Plessis, and he fought him in an immediate rematch and finished him in the third round. I'm just a huge fan of watching Soldic. I was so excited when it was announced he was signing to One Championship. I was convinced he was going to go to the UFC. I think a lot of people were. So it was a big shock that he decided to go with One Championship. And the reasons he stated was that he wants to compete for multiple world championships. He thinks that he's good enough to potentially win a bout in kickboxing, maybe Muay Thai, and obviously he has the opportunity in one to easily go up weight classes, just because the depth of the divisions kind of allows that. And of course, in the welterweight division, you already have Christian Lee, who's a double champion. That's a huge fight. And then if he decides to go up and fight Renier de Ridder, perhaps, crazy good matchups for Roberto Soldic in one. However, his one debut didn't go to plan at all. If you watch that fight, you know exactly what I mean. At One on Prime Video 5 in December last year, he just didn't get to showcase anything that he brings to the table. His opponent, Murad Ramazanov, is a very, very good grappler. If you hear anyone from that kind of Dagestan wrestling scene talk about Murad, then you know they all think highly of him. Undefeated, of course. And I just think he was a nightmare matchup for Soldic. The matchup made sense because if Soldic wins, then that's a huge win. Murad is a very dangerous guy who I think can cause a lot of people problems. I think Murad is the kind of opponent that it made sense because if he beats Murad, then he is at the top of the division straight away. But in terms of an opponent that is going to be difficult for him to look good against and showcase his skills, he's probably the worst guy in the division, I think, for Soldic to face. He was grappled in the first few minutes and kind of just held and didn't get the opportunity to showcase any of his striking, and then an accidental groin strike to Soldic ended the fight in a no contest because he couldn't continue in the first round. So we really haven't seen what Soldic brings to the table yet, and whilst that is frustrating, it's also very exciting because it means we will probably get to see it on this card, because he has drawn, I think, the perfect opponent for him to showcase what he does. Not that I'm saying it's an easy matchup, because it is not. However, Sebastian Kadastam, former world champion, so again, you've got the pedigree. If he comes in and beats Kadastam, he's right at the top already, straight off the bat. But also, you've got one of the only guys that isn't a heavyweight who fights at a high level, who can match Soldic's insane knockout percentage. through how many wins has Soldic got? 20 professional wins. Roberto Soldic has 17 knockouts on his record. Sebastian Kadastam, on the other hand, through 14 professional wins, has got 12 knockouts. Like, I could just end the video there and you're like, okay, I've got to watch this one. Of course, he does have some losses on his record. He's been competing in one since 2016? 2017. I apologise. 6 wins and 4 losses inside the circle. The 4 losses being to Ben Askren. I remember that fight very well. Cameron Abasov, former champion as well. Abdulayev, and then Murad Ramazanov. Coming off of back-to-back wins, though, both first-round knockouts, both devastating highlight reel clips there. So he might have some more losses, like I said, but you look at those names that he's lost to, and they're all very top-tier fighters that have competed in one. So, you know, definitely not on a slide or anything like that. Kadastam is still a very dangerous competitor in this division, and he's kind of known as the most dangerous welterweight, and Soldic has the opportunity to come in and steal that from him. Of course, when Soldic signed, that was kind of how, you know, you're going to talk about him as the new ferocious striker in one championship. And Kadastam has a point to prove here that he's been here the whole time. And I think that's obviously it's a huge opportunity to fight a guy like Soldic. And if Kadastam's going to win, it's probably going to be by a knockout. So he could gain so much from this fight. And of course, I've already said about what Soldic can gain. As I said, the knockout percentages of both guys speaks for itself. And I'm just so excited to watch Soldic compete in one. The fact of the matter is, this fight, if Soldic had fought anybody, it would be right at the top of my most anticipated fight to this card. Kadastam, though, is, like I said, I think the perfect matchup for him. Again, not that it's easy. This isn't a showcase matchup where I'm excited because we're going to get to see Soldic do his thing. I think this is a really tough fight, and I think any of them could land that shot, and you know what happens when either of them land that killer shot. So the stakes are high. I think it's going to produce the best fight, assuming it isn't just a one-shot KO from either guy. But I don't expect it to be that easy for either guy. And I cannot wait for this fight. What is your pick for the fight that you are most excited for on this One Fight Night 10? As I said, please check out my full card preview that is up on this channel and my predictions video that is coming very soon. And I will see you after the fights to talk about all of the action that we get to witness this Friday/Saturday on Prime Video or YouTube if you're in the UK like myself. I will see you on the next one.